okay, so you get into WWE. You're at what was FCW at the time?
Yeah.
So you were at FCW, obviously. Then it became NXT.
Yes.
What was your time like working with Dusty Rhodes?
It was interesting. It was interesting. So I, like, some people see it as a detriment. I actually view it as kind of a blessing in disguise. I've obviously never been like the guy or the guy that, and I even thought about this the other day. In my 11 years that I was with WWE, I don't know if I've ever actually received like an official push.
So I always find this funny, especially with somebody like you, because I feel like, I mean, I think in like a similar way to like TJ, where like everyone knows how good you are. Like you're a great wrestler. And I think the only time that it was, I mean, not the only time, you've obviously been able to have great matches, but when you got to have that match with Liger, that was like such a showcasing of who you are and what you can do. And the fact that nothing ever really came from you being able to put on a match like that with Liger is like, that's such a bummer.
Well, it's like I said, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. So, again, I've never really gotten like, and even that match with Liger, a lot of people like hold that in high regard as like a really good match.
Yeah.
Me personally, it was special because it's him.
Right.
But in terms of like matches that hey, if you have 5 matches to watch that'll make you a fan of mine, I don't know if that would be on the list because just technically it's not one of my ones that I'm proud of. I don't hold it in the same category as like the Fatal 4-Way or the one I had with Sammy or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's very special in what it is. So, and even that wasn't what I would call like, a push. It was more of an olive branch to New Japan, to kind of what we were going to do at the time and where we were going. But so in reality,
you were like, the first forbidden door. Dare we say?
I very much was until we messed it up. And so it's one of those things where like, again, like look over my career and see if you can actually identify like a push because there's not one there.
Right.
And I remember I had this conversation with Dolph, who like, he just kind of said, look, man, like it's very obvious who are their guys and who aren't their guys. And he goes, and even when you're not their guy, he's like, you figure out how to have a match with their guy and you steal the ball from them, you steal the show, and they still won't give it to you. He goes, that's just how it is. He goes, but the key is you'll always work with those guys and you'll always be around because you can make them look really good. And I said, yes. I said, that's really what my career has been. But when you are also on the chopping block every 6 months, you see the real sides of people. So like you don't get the, everybody worshiping you and, talking really good and being on your bandwagon.
Yeah.
You get all the ones who like, they know you're on your way out. So they show you the real sides of them.
Oh my God.
And then you really see it.
That just like kind of made my stomach turn a little bit. That seems like something I would not want to be a part of.
It's like I said, it's good and bad.
It's like you kind of want to be that fly on the wall to hear what people have to say about you, but then you're like, what the how could you?
Yes. And then once you start kind of things going your way and you have a bandwagon, it's very interesting to watch those same people and how they treat you.
They jump back on it.
So I personally love it because then you find out who really matters, who really doesn't, who's really your friend, who really isn't. Like that's how you really decide who's in your circle. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
And I was on both sides with almost everybody, Dusty included. So for the first little bit, like I didn't really have a whole lot of interaction with Dusty because I just wasn't one of his guys. Like I remember like even so like a Seth or a John for that matter.
Yeah.
They came into FCW and them and Dusty, like they were side by side immediately and Dusty loved them. They could cut promos and like they were on the shows and away they went. Like they were never really on the other side of like trying to get booked and trying to get a character in and trying to do whatever. And nothing like that really happened. Like I would do stuff and it was just kind of like, okay, great job, Mike, whatever. And like move on.
Yeah.
And then the last straw was kind of when I had to come up with Tyler Breeze. And I remember I think there was 4 characters. There was 4 characters that me and Woods made as like vignettes. And I emailed them to every email I had. I literally sent them to, I think at the time, Johnny Ace was in charge. Ty Bailey was underneath him. Dusty was there. Doc was there. Joey Mercury was there. Like all these people were there. And every email I could get my hands on, I sent them to every single one.
Yeah.
And the only person who got back to me was Dusty. And he went, hey, we might have something with this Tyler Breeze one. Let's talk. And I said, okay. And then I went in, I talked to him and he kind of went like, I think this is something, because he'd watch me flounder and like not really be able to find something.
Right.
And then he was like, I said, what should I do with this? And he said, try it. When we do promo days, try it out, see what happens. And I just started kind of like having fun and doing it. And I'd watch him and he would laugh his head off. He went, oh my God. He goes, this is, there's something here. This is a really good, funny character. And that's when the ball started to roll. And that's when the other people, because now Dusty had said, hey, there's something here. Now all of a sudden this guy's back and this guy's here and this guy's here and this guy's here. And hey, you're doing so good. And
my God. Well, I remember watching as you were putting together the entrance for Tyler Breeze. And because I mean, that was such an over the top, oh my God, it's Tyler.
That's right.
Of like just putting together what that entrance was and adding the selfie stick and all the feathers and the boas and whatnot. But I mean, yeah, at that point, everyone was firmly on your bandwagon and that's when I think I was around or just started being around, because I was definitely not around while John and Seth were doing their thing with Dusty.
Yeah.
It was after that, because when I was there, I was under the impression that you were a big deal and we're getting a push. That's how it felt to me.
Oh, definitely not. So that was a struggle. That was a struggle the entire time. So even the birth of the Tyler Breeze character, we were doing a thing with ESPN. It was E60.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it was on Woods, Leo Kruger, Colin Cassidy,
and Graves.
Myself, and Corey Graves.
Yeah.
Well, what we were told at the time was that we were just doing a cool like E60 piece on the 5 of us. And I went, cool, awesome, great. And as we're filming it is when I started to transition into Tyler Breeze. So they got the whole transition in my debut. Well, Triple H tells us at the end of like one of those meetings at the end of the tapings that the ESPN tape, the E60 thing we're doing was supposed to have a couple guys who made it, a couple guys who we don't know, and a couple guys who got fired. And me and Big Cass were supposed to be the 2 that got fired.
Shut up.
And during the time, I found Tyler Breeze and he found his thing with Enzo.
Yeah.
And it completely 180'd. And all of a sudden, like, no, we can't fire these guys. Like they're doing good now. And we were like, he said this in front of everybody for the first time. And we went, oh my God. With the thing we were very excited about, we were going to get fired at the end of?
For everybody else's entertainment, for the storyline for this E60 bit?
Yes.
Oh
and
my God. You were fed to the wolves.
That's right. And we had no idea. Fortunately, me and Cass, we both found something that saved us again, like the common pattern.
Yeah.
But it was at this time too that like, again, even when I think I debuted and everybody was like, okay, cool. Like, yes, there's something here. And then they booked me in matches to where like they were learning who I was and the crowd was starting to get into it. But I still was not anywhere. I wasn't never going towards the NXT title. I was never going towards, being the guy, the face of NXT. I was never going towards a big, babyface turn or anything like that. It was always just, okay. So I remember, I think the first test, because they were like, okay, this is a cool gimmick. Like he comes out, he takes the pictures, he wrestles a tiny bit, and away we go. We need to see if there's any substance to it. So then I had a match with Sami Zayn at the first takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And after that one, I remember Triple H pulled me aside and he went, hey, look, he goes, Kevin Dunn called and he said he loves the Tyler Breeze character.
Oh, okay. I'll take back my eye roll.
Yeah. And I went, okay. And he went, Vince also saw it and Vince likes the character. He goes, this was the proving point that there's more to Tyler Breeze than just the gimmick. He goes, yeah. Now you can have a match. Now we know we can do something with this. And I went, awesome. And from there it was, I worked with Sammy. That was the test kind of thing. Then after that, I went and worked with Neville. After that, we did the Fatal 4-Way with me, Neville, and TJ. Mm-hmm. Then I worked with Kenta. Then I worked with Finn. Then I worked with essentially everybody coming in that they were gonna go with.
Right.
So it wasn't so much a push as opposed to now I've proved that I can be a reliable guy you can toss in there.
Hand.
Yes. You can toss me in there with whoever you'd like and we can make them look really good. Mm-hmm. And we know that, and I think Triple H even said it a couple of times of like, he's like, there's a certain quality that some guys have and some guys don't. He goes, you can basically lift people up to a certain level without bringing yourself down to a different level.
Right.
He goes, you keep yourself a star while bringing them up to a star level as well. Which obviously if you're introducing somebody like a Finn or a Kenta or whatever, that is a huge thing because the first impression of like a new person, we need to make sure that we knock it out of the park if we're going with them, or if they're heading towards, you know, being a main event guy or an NXT champion or whatever. You need somebody like that gatekeeper to kind of go, hey guys, welcome. This is what they can do, by the way.
Here's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. So you say though, I mean, you say that it was kind of like a blessing in disguise in the sense that like you never really got that big push to be that guy, but you got to work some really great matches. I mean, you were under contract for 11 years. So this isn't something you look back on and feel negatively towards.
Not at all. And like, it's funny hearing some people, because they'll be like, oh man, like your career was never anything, or you never made it to a certain level, or you didn't win any titles or whatever. It was never about that. Like, that's one thing that I was kind of taught too by Lance, is like, the titles are just titles, man. Yeah. Like it not the best people don't necessarily have the titles. Yeah. Some people need the titles to go into a certain level and be a star. The titles are to, you know, help get you to a certain place, or, you know, hey, the fans are really like this guy, they're buying his merchandise, give him some titles, whatever. Yeah. But never once have I ever been, you know, held my my value or my credibility on if I get titles or wins at this point. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would much rather, I loved being able to watch, and like if somebody walked in and they looked at the card on the wall and they went, oh, I'm working Breeze tonight. Awesome. Yeah. That to me is like, that's the biggest badge of honor. That's the biggest thing, is that my peers respect me. And if they see they're working me, they smile and they go, this is going to be fun.